Take your scam somewhere else before I call security. The words slammed across the marble lobby so loudly that even the pianist near the lounge entrance stopped playing mid-note. Every head turned at once. Suitcases rolled to a halt. Champagne glasses froze halfway to lips. And standing in the middle of the five-star lobby beneath a chandelier worth more than most homes in Ohio was Naomi Brooks wearing a faded charcoal hoodie, black jeans, and white sneakers that still carried rainwater from the Seattle streets outside. She didn't flinch. Not even a blink. Derek Whitmore stood behind the front desk with his jaw tight and his posture stretched tall with the kind of confidence that only comes from believing the room already agrees with you. 51 years old. Silver tie. Perfect haircut. Expensive watch. The face of luxury hospitality. Or at least that was what the hotel brochures called him. Sir, Naomi said calmly, sliding her ID across the polished counter. I have a reservation under Brooks. Penthouse suite. Derek barely glanced at the card before pushing it back with two fingers like it carried something contagious. Penthouse guests don't usually walk in looking like they slept at a bus stop. A few nervous laughs scattered through the lobby. A white couple near the elevators exchanged amused looks. A bellhop lowered his eyes instantly. Naomi looked around slowly, taking in the room without embarrassment. The gold lighting. The towering glass walls streaked with Seattle rain. The scent of espresso drifting from the cafe. The giant silver letters behind the front desk spelling out halcyon grand. Her hotel. Her company. Her name buried deep inside ownership documents nobody in this room had bothered to imagine belonged to a black woman in a hoodie. Before we continue, where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. And if you believe in dignity and justice, hit like and subscribe. These stories spark change. And we're glad you're here. Now, back to Naomi Brooks. Derek folded his arms. I'm going to ask you one more time to leave peacefully before this becomes embarrassing. Naomi's expression never changed. That was the unsettling part. She didn't look angry. She looked tired, like someone who had seen this exact scene too many times before. You already made it embarrassing, she replied quietly. A younger receptionist standing 2 terminals away glanced nervously at her screen. Emily Carter. 24. New employee. Sharp eyes. She typed Naomi's last name into the system and suddenly froze. Her fingers stopped moving. Executive clearance code. Owner level authorization. Penthouse override. Emily looked up quickly toward Derek, but his attention stayed locked on Naomi. Sir, Emily said carefully. I think there might be. Not now, Emily. His voice snapped through the air like a whip. This woman does not belong here. The word belong landed hard. Naomi heard the same tone she'd heard at 16 when a mall security guard followed her through a clothing store because of the hoodie she wore after basketball practice. Same pause. Same suspicion. Same quiet assumption that black meant dangerous until proven otherwise. Only now she stood inside a billion-dollar hotel chain she built herself from the ground up. A businessman near the bar pulled out his phone discreetly. Another guest whispered, "This is crazy." Derek noticed the phones immediately and straightened his tie, suddenly performing authority for an audience. Ma'am, people pay over $3,000 a night to stay here. We protect our guests from situations exactly like this. Naomi tilted her head slightly. Situations like what? Derek smiled, but there was no warmth in it. You know exactly what I mean. Silence spread across the lobby like smoke. Even the elevators seemed quieter. Naomi reached into her hoodie pocket and pulled out her phone. Derek laughed under his breath. Oh good. Recording this for TikTok. No, Naomi answered. Calling someone. She lifted the phone calmly to her ear while Derek shook his head with open disgust. This should be interesting. The line connected almost instantly. Olivia, Naomi said softly. Eyes still locked on Derek Whitmore. Start Protocol Black. The moment Naomi Brooks said the words Protocol Black, the atmosphere inside the halcyon grand changed in ways nobody in the lobby could see yet. It was subtle at first. A blinking notification on a hidden management dashboard upstairs. A silent security archive beginning to lock footage from every lobby camera. An internal compliance system tagging the exact timestamp Derek Whitmore called a black woman in a hoodie a scam. But downstairs none of them knew that. Derek only smirked harder. That's supposed to scare me? He asked. Naomi slipped her phone back into her pocket slowly. No, she answered. It is supposed to document you. The businessman recording near the bar lowered his drink slightly. More phones were visible now. Tiny glowing screens hovering above marble counters and leather chairs. Seattle rain hammered softly against the giant windows while tension thickened inside the lobby like pressure before a storm. Emily stared at her terminal again. The owner clearance icon still flashed red and gold beside Naomi's name. She swallowed hard. "Mr. Whitmore," she whispered, "I really think we should verify this before escalating." Derek turned toward her so sharply that even nearby guests flinched. "You are new here, so let me teach you something," he said coldly. "People like her walk into luxury hotels every week pretending they belong." Naomi looked directly at him. "People like me?" Derek realized too late that several guests were now openly listening. He straightened his jacket immediately. "I meant people trying to scam the system." But the damage was already hanging in the air. A woman near the concierge desk shook her head slowly. A teenage boy sitting beside his parents muttered under his breath, "This feels wrong." Naomi remained perfectly still in the center of it all. No raised voice. No dramatic movements. Just composure. That was what unsettled Derek most. Most people either argued or left. Naomi did neither. She simply stood there like the building itself answered to her. Because it did. A tall security guard named Ryan emerged from a hallway near the elevators after receiving Derek's silent signal. Mid-30s. Broad shoulders. Professional posture. He approached carefully, already sensing something about this situation was unstable. "Everything all right here?" he asked. Derek answered before anyone else could speak. "No. This woman is refusing to leave private property after being denied service." Naomi lifted one eyebrow slightly. "Denied service?" she repeated. Interesting way to describe racial profiling. The words sliced through the lobby. A nervous cough sounded somewhere near the cafe. Emily looked down immediately. Derek laughed once without humor. "Here we go." Naomi turned toward Ryan instead of Derek. "I arrived with a valid reservation for the penthouse suite under my legal name. Your manager refused to check me in because I am wearing a hoodie." Ryan glanced at Derek uncertainly. "Sir." Derek scoffed loudly. "She wants everyone to believe she rented a $12,000 suite looking like that." Naomi looked down briefly at her sweatshirt and sneakers. "Funny thing about wealth," she said softly. "Real wealth does not need a costume." The sentence landed harder than Derek expected. Even the wealthy couple near the elevators stopped smiling. Emily pressed her lips together to hide it, but she almost smiled too. Derek saw it. "Emily," he snapped, "stop staring and call corporate guest verification." Emily hesitated. Her hands hovered above the keyboard. "Sir, owner-level accounts bypass standard verification." Silence. Small but noticeable. Derek's face tightened instantly. "What did you say?" Emily looked terrified now, but forced the words out. "Her account has executive override permissions." Naomi watched Derek carefully. She could almost see the gears turning behind his eyes. Doubt trying to fight pride. But pride was winning. It usually did with men like him. "You hacked the system?" Derek asked Naomi with a laugh that sounded less confident now. Naomi exhaled slowly through her nose. "That is your explanation?" Ryan shifted awkwardly beside them. More guests had gathered near the lobby entrance pretending to check their phones while openly watching the confrontation. Outside, a black town car pulled quietly beneath the hotel awning. Naomi noticed it immediately. Olivia had arrived faster than expected. Derek noticed it too and folded his arms tighter. "Let me guess," he sneered. "More people. Coming to help sell the act." Naomi's eyes never left his. "No," she said calmly. "People coming to end it." The black town car outside the Halcyon Grand sat silently beneath the rain like it already knew how this night would end. Inside the lobby, Derek Whitmore forced a laugh that sounded thinner with every passing second. "This is unbelievable," he muttered loudly enough for the crowd to hear. "You people always try to turn everything into discrimination when someone tells you no." The phrase "you people" hit the room like shattered glass. A few guests exchanged uncomfortable looks immediately. Ryan, the security guard, shifted his weight again. Even he looked uneasy now. Naomi Brooks remained still with one hand inside the pocket of her hoodie while the gold chandelier reflected softly above her. She had spent 20 years building luxury spaces exactly like this one. Spaces where wealthy guests bragged about comfort while workers quietly decided who deserved dignity the moment they walked through the door. Derek stepped around the counter now, putting himself directly between Naomi and the elevators like some self-appointed gatekeeper of elegance. "I am done arguing," he announced. "You need to leave the property now." Naomi looked at him carefully. "Or what?" Derek smiled sharply. "Or security escorts you out." Ryan immediately glanced toward him. "Sir," he said cautiously, "we should probably slow this down until corporate confirms." "I am corporate in this building," Derek snapped. The arrogance in his voice rolled through the lobby. Emily looked physically uncomfortable now. She stared down at her monitor again as more system notifications quietly appeared. Executive audit initiated. Internal review active. Owner account protected. Her breathing quickened. Naomi noticed. "Emily," Naomi said gently, "what do you see on that screen?" Derek spun toward the desk instantly. "Do not answer her." But Emily had already crossed the point where silence felt safe. "I see executive clearance authorization," she admitted quietly, "and a direct access note from Central Operations." Derek's face hardened. "You are making a career-ending mistake." Naomi watched him closely. It fascinated her how quickly fear turned into aggression when power felt threatened. A middle-aged white man near the lounge finally spoke up. "Maybe you should just verify her reservation," he said. "This whole thing is getting ugly." Derek forced another smile toward the guests. "Ladies and gentlemen, we deal with fraudulent behavior constantly. This is standard procedure." Naomi tilted her head slightly. "Funny," she said. "Nobody checked the white couple upstairs wearing sweatpants and baseball caps." Silence. The wealthy couple near the elevators stiffened immediately. Derek ignored the comment completely. "Ryan," he ordered coldly, "escort her outside." Ryan hesitated. Naomi did not move. "You really want to do this over a hoodie?" she asked quietly. Derek laughed once. "No. I want to do this because entitled people think money lets them walk into places they do not belong." The sentence hung heavy in the lobby. Emily closed her eyes briefly. One woman near the cafe whispered, "Oh my God." Naomi looked around slowly at all the watching faces. Some uncomfortable, some embarrassed, some pretending not to see it at all. Same country, same script. Just another luxury lobby with polished marble hiding old prejudice beneath expensive lighting. Then the elevator doors opened. Every head turned at once. A sharply dressed black woman stepped out carrying a leather tablet case and wearing a dark navy trench coat, still damp from the rain. Olivia Bennett, executive assistant to Naomi Brooks for 11 years. Calm, precise, dangerous in the quietest possible way. She walked straight across the lobby without hesitation and stopped beside Naomi. Derek frowned immediately. "Can I help you?" Olivia ignored him completely. "Ma'am," she said to Naomi, "corporate legal is now active. Surveillance footage has been preserved. Human resources and board compliance are standing by." The room went dead silent. Derek blinked. "Excuse me." Olivia finally looked at him. "Derek Whitmore?" she asked evenly. "General manager of the Halcyon Grand Seattle location?" His confidence wavered for the first time. "Yes." Olivia opened the tablet slowly. "You are currently under live executive review for discriminatory guest conduct, unlawful reservation denial, and violation of company hospitality standards." A nervous laugh escaped Derek before he could stop it. "What is this supposed to be?" Olivia did not blink. "The beginning of the worst night of your professional life." Ryan stepped backward almost instinctively. Emily stared at Naomi like the ground beneath the lobby had suddenly shifted. The businessman recording near the bar whispered under his breath, "Holy hell." Naomi finally stepped forward one pace closer to Derek. Calm, controlled, unshaken. "You judged a woman in a hoodie," she said softly. "Now your entire career is being judged by the woman who built this company." The silence after Olivia Bennett spoke felt heavier than the rain pounding against the glass walls outside the Halcyon Grand. Derek Whitmore stood frozen near the center of the lobby with the expression of a man trying to convince himself reality had not shifted beneath his feet. But it had. Every guest in the room could feel it now. The energy was different. Phones stayed raised. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. Even the pianist near the lounge quietly closed the lid over the keys. Naomi Brooks stood calm inside the storm, wearing the same faded hoodie Derek had mocked less than 15 minutes earlier. Olivia tapped once on her tablet screen. Instantly, Derek's company email began exploding with notifications. Compliance review initiated. Executive conduct audit active. Employee access under observation. The color drained slowly from his face as his phone vibrated again and again inside his jacket pocket. "This is ridiculous," he muttered finally. "There has to be some misunderstanding." Naomi looked at him steadily. "Interesting," she said softly. "You seemed very certain 5 minutes ago." Ryan, the security guard, took another step back. He no longer looked like security. He looked like a man realizing he had almost escorted the owner of the building into the rain because someone in a suit told him to. Emily stared at Naomi with wide eyes. "You are Naomi Brooks?" she asked quietly. Naomi turned toward her with the first trace of warmth she had shown all night. "Yes." Emily's hand moved slowly to her mouth. She had seen Naomi's face before in internal leadership newsletters and hospitality magazines, but never like this. Never in a hoodie, standing in the middle of public humiliation while remaining calmer than everyone around her. Derek forced a nervous laugh. "If this is really some executive stunt, then frankly, this is unfair. Nobody told me who she was." Naomi's eyes sharpened immediately. "That is exactly the problem." The words landed hard. Derek opened his mouth, but nothing came out. Naomi stepped closer, not aggressively, just enough to force him to hear every syllable clearly. "You treated me like I was worthless before you knew my title," she said. "So tell me something honestly. If I was not the owner of this hotel chain, would any of this suddenly become acceptable?" No answer. None existed. A woman near the elevators slowly lowered her phone and whispered, "Wow." Another guest shook his head. This man buried himself. Olivia continued reading from the tablet with surgical calm. Derek Whitmore. 3 prior internal complaints regarding discriminatory guest interactions. 2 unresolved. 1 dismissed without review. Emily looked stunned. Ryan looked angry now. Not at Naomi. At Derek. "You told us those complaints were fake," Ryan said quietly. Derek snapped toward him instantly. "Stay out of this." But the room was already turning against him. Naomi could feel it happening the same way she had felt it happen 100 times before in boardrooms full of executives who underestimated her until the numbers started speaking louder than their assumptions. The wealthy couple near the elevators suddenly looked desperate to disappear into the wallpaper. The husband cleared his throat awkwardly. "We did not realize what was happening," he said weakly. Naomi looked directly at him. "You laughed." His face fell immediately. "I." "Silence always gets loud after consequences arrive," Naomi said calmly. Emily lowered her eyes. That line hit her harder than anything else, because she knew she almost stayed silent too. Olivia's tablet chimed softly again. "Corporate Legal is requesting immediate video conference authorization," she announced. Derek's confidence cracked completely now. "Wait," he said quickly. "There is no reason to escalate this further. We can resolve this privately." Naomi almost smiled. "Privately," she repeated. "You humiliated me publicly." Derek's breathing grew uneven. He glanced around the lobby searching for support, but found only cameras and disappointed faces staring back at him. The performance was over. The audience had changed sides. Naomi reached slowly into her hoodie pocket and removed the same room key packet Derek claimed she could never afford. Penthouse suite. Owner authorization seal embossed in silver. She placed it gently on the marble counter between them. "You saw a black woman in a hoodie," she said quietly, "and your imagination stopped there." Then Olivia turned the tablet screen toward Derek. A live video call had connected. 3 corporate board members stared back at him in complete silence. The 3 board members on Olivia Bennett's tablet did not speak right away. They simply stared at Derek Whitmore through the screen with the cold silence of people reviewing damage in real time. The entire lobby seemed to shrink beneath that silence. Derek tried to straighten his tie again, but his hands were no longer steady. "Good evening, Mr. Whitmore," said the first board member finally, an older man named Charles Avery whose voice carried the kind of calm authority that made people nervous without raising volume. "We have been monitoring this incident live for the last 11 minutes. 11 minutes. That was all it took. 11 minutes for a luxury hotel manager to destroy a 23-year career because a black woman walked through the front doors wearing a hoodie instead of pearls. Naomi Brooks stood motionless beside Olivia while rainwater still glistened faintly on the shoulders of her sweatshirt. She looked less like a billionaire owner than the woman she used to be years ago when people saw skin color first and humanity second. Derek swallowed hard. "This situation has been misunderstood," he said quickly. "I was only following guest security procedures." Naomi looked at him carefully. Security procedures? She repeated softly. You never once asked if I needed help. You asked if I belonged. The words cut through the lobby sharper than shouting ever could. Emily felt chills crawl across her arms. Ryan lowered his eyes toward the marble floor. Even some of the guests recording began looking uncomfortable, holding their phones up now. Nobody wanted to feel like part of the crowd that watched dignity get stripped away in public. Charles Avery leaned closer on the screen. Mr. Whitmore, did you deny Ms. Brooks access to her reserved suite based solely on her appearance? Derek hesitated. Tiny mistake. Fatal mistake. I evaluated the situation based on experience. Naomi almost smiled at that. Experience. Such a polished word for prejudice. Olivia tapped another command onto the tablet, and security footage immediately appeared in a smaller video window. Derek's own voice echoed faintly through the speakers. Penthouse guests do not usually walk in looking like they slept at a bus stop. The lobby went dead silent again, hearing it replayed out loud. Different now. Ugly now. Derek looked physically smaller, hearing himself through someone else's ears. Naomi watched his expression carefully, because she had seen that moment before too. The moment people finally hear their bias without the protection of their own ego wrapping around it. Oh my God, one guest whispered near the elevators. Another quietly muttered, he is done. But Naomi was not smiling. That was the difference between revenge and accountability. Revenge enjoys humiliation. Accountability simply lets truth stand where everyone can see it. Her eyes drifted briefly toward the rain outside the giant windows, and suddenly another memory surfaced without warning. Charlotte, age 16, hoodie soaked from walking home in November rain. A hotel clerk staring at her like she was dangerous, while white tourists passed behind her unnoticed. She remembered gripping the sleeves of her sweatshirt tightly while the woman at the desk asked if she was lost. Not welcome. Lost. Naomi remembered how small that made her feel back then. How invisible. How angry. But anger had eventually turned into ambition. Ambition became ownership. Ownership became power. And now here she stood inside a billion-dollar hotel chain, still being asked the same question in different words. Why are you here? Naomi slowly looked back at Derek. The saddest part about this, she said quietly, is that you probably think this only became wrong after you learned who I was. Derek opened his mouth again, but Charles Avery cut him off immediately. Do not speak. The command landed like a hammer. Olivia's tablet chimed again. Another executive had joined the call. Human Resources Director Melissa Grant appeared on screen, holding a digital file already thick with documents. Mr. Whitmore, she said evenly, we have also reviewed prior complaints connected to your management record, including 2 incidents involving black female guests who described language similar to what we witnessed tonight. Emily's face tightened. Ryan looked openly disgusted now. Derek shook his head rapidly. Those complaints were never proven. Melissa's expression never changed. Neither was your judgment. Naomi folded her arms slowly over her hoodie. Calm. Unmoved. Powerful in the most unsettling way possible. A hoodie did not expose your character tonight, she said. Power did. The lobby no longer felt like a luxury hotel. It felt like a courtroom wrapped in gold and marble. Every guest stood frozen in place, watching Derek Whitmore unravel beneath the weight of his own words, while rain streaked the giant glass windows behind him like the city itself wanted to wash the moment clean. Naomi Brooks remained steady in the center of it all, wearing the same charcoal hoodie that had triggered the entire collapse. Olivia Bennett glanced down at her tablet again as new notifications rolled across the screen faster now. Employee access review complete. Executive disciplinary action pending. Media containment alert active. The machine Naomi built years ago was moving exactly as designed. Quietly. Efficiently. Without emotion. Derek looked around desperately at the guests recording him. Everyone needs to stop filming immediately, he snapped. Nobody moved. In fact, more phones appeared. A younger man near the cafe stepped forward slightly. No, he said calmly. People should see this. Derek pointed toward him angrily. You have no right recording private hotel operations. Naomi finally spoke again. You made it public the moment you humiliated me in front of a room full of strangers. The sentence dropped into the lobby with surgical precision. Ryan folded his arms tightly now, standing farther from Derek than before. Emily still stared at Naomi with disbelief written across her face. Not because Naomi owned the company, Because Naomi never once lost control. That was the part Emily could not stop thinking about. Most people would have yelled, threatened, broken down. Naomi had done none of it. She simply let the truth expose everyone else. Melissa Grant from Human Resources adjusted her glasses on the video call. Mr. Whitmore, she said evenly, we are reviewing all employee communications connected to tonight's incident. Derek shook his head immediately. This is completely overblown. Olivia tapped another file open. Actually, she replied calmly, it may be worse than you realize. She rotated the tablet slightly toward the board members. An internal message thread appeared on screen. Emily's stomach dropped instantly. Derek's private staff chat. One message from earlier that evening sat highlighted in blue. Keep an eye out tonight. We have had more suspicious walk-ins lately. Another message followed minutes later after Naomi entered the lobby. Hoodie lady claiming penthouse reservation. Probably another scammer. A low murmur spread across the guests. Ryan closed his eyes briefly. Derek looked horrified now. That is out of context, he stammered quickly. Naomi looked directly at him. Context did not stop you from profiling me. Silence. Sharp and complete. The wealthy couple near the elevators slowly began inching toward the exit like people trying to escape a fire alarm without being noticed. But Naomi's attention stayed locked on Derek. She had spent years studying moments exactly like this one. The shift when arrogance turns into panic. When people realize professionalism cannot save them from their own documented behavior. Olivia's tablet chimed again. Another executive entered the conference call. Head of Legal Affairs. Naomi recognized the expression on his face immediately. Damage control mode. Naomi, the attorney said carefully, we are prepared to issue a public statement tonight, if necessary. Derek's face drained completely hearing her first name spoken so casually by corporate leadership. Naomi answered without looking away from him. No statement yet. The attorney hesitated. You are certain? Naomi nodded slowly. I want everyone in this lobby to understand something first. She turned carefully toward the crowd. The room quieted instantly. Luxury is easy, she said softly. You can buy chandeliers, marble floors, expensive perfume in the air. But dignity. Her eyes shifted back toward Derek. Dignity shows up when someone walks through your doors looking different from what you expected. Nobody moved. Nobody even pretended to check their phones anymore. Emily felt tears sting her eyes unexpectedly because she realized Naomi was not only talking about hotels. She was talking about the entire country. Naomi took one slow breath. Tonight was never about a hoodie, she continued. It was about who society decides deserves respect before they ever say a word. Derek looked down at the marble floor, unable to meet her eyes now. The same man who stood tall 20 minutes earlier now looked like he wanted the ground to swallow him whole. Olivia glanced at her tablet one final time. Then she looked directly at Naomi. Authorization is ready, she said quietly. Naomi gave a small nod. Then let us finish this. Naomi Brooks stepped away from the front desk slowly, as if the entire lobby now belonged to silence instead of noise. The phones recording her every movement stayed perfectly still in dozens of raised hands while rain continued sliding down the giant glass windows behind her like gray rivers cutting through the Seattle night. Derek Whitmore stood near the marble counter with his shoulders collapsing inward 1 inch at a time. 20 minutes earlier, he had looked at Naomi and seen a problem to remove. Now he looked at her and saw the woman capable of ending his career before midnight. Olivia Bennett held the tablet steady as the board members watched. Without interruption, nobody rushed Naomi. Nobody interrupted her. The room understood instinctively that something final was coming. Naomi glanced once around the lobby, taking in every face. Guests, employees, witnesses, some embarrassed, some angry, some staring at her with admiration now. But Naomi's expression stayed measured because this moment was never about applause. It was about truth standing in full light where nobody could deny it anymore. She stopped directly in front of Derek. Do you know what the strange thing is? She asked softly. Derek said nothing. Naomi continued anyway. You were polite to everyone in this lobby tonight until you saw me. The words hit harder than accusation because they were simple, clean, undeniable. Derek rubbed his forehead nervously. I admitted this situation was mishandled. Naomi shook her head slowly. No. You admitted I had power. Silence swallowed the room again. Emily felt her chest tighten hearing that sentence because it explained everything with brutal clarity. Naomi was right. Derek never apologized when he thought she was powerless. He only panicked after discovering she owned the building. Naomi stepped closer by one quiet pace. "You called me suspicious before I even finished saying my name," she said. "You mocked my clothes. You questioned whether I belonged here. You tried to remove me from property I legally own." Derek's breathing became uneven. "I did not know who you were." Naomi's eyes locked onto his completely. "Exactly." The sentence landed like a door slamming shut. A woman near the cafe whispered, "Wow." Another guest slowly lowered his phone and shook his head in disbelief. Olivia's tablet chimed softly again. Melissa Grant from Human Resources spoke carefully from the screen. "Ms. Brooks, authorization for executive disciplinary action has been approved." Naomi did not answer immediately. She kept staring at Derek for another long second. Then finally she spoke with a calmness that somehow felt more powerful than shouting ever could. "You looked at a hoodie," she said quietly, "and missed the woman who signs your paychecks." Dead silence. Total silence. Even the rain outside seemed quieter. For one suspended moment, Ryan exhaled sharply under his breath. Emily covered her mouth again. Derek looked like the floor beneath him had vanished entirely. Naomi turned slightly toward the board members on the tablet. "For the record," she continued evenly, "this is not punishment for embarrassing me." Her gaze shifted back toward Derek. "This is accountability for revealing who you become when you think someone has no power." Charles Avery nodded once from the screen. Melissa Grant opened another document. "Derek Whitmore," she announced formally, "effective immediately, your employment with Halcyon Grand Hospitality has been terminated for violations of executive conduct policy, discriminatory guest treatment, and abuse of managerial authority." Almost instantly, Derek's access badge clipped to his jacket flashed from green to red. A soft electronic tone echoed through the lobby. "Access denied." The sound felt strangely small considering how enormous the moment was. Derek stared down at the badge like he no longer recognized it. "You are firing me over one misunderstanding?" he asked weakly. Naomi answered immediately. "No." She folded her arms slowly over her hoodie. "I am firing you because this was not new for you. It was simply the first time your target owned the system you were hiding behind." Ryan stepped away from Derek completely now. Emily straightened her posture for the first time all night. Guests began whispering openly. Some nodded. One older man near the elevators even started clapping softly before stopping awkwardly when nobody joined him yet. Derek looked around, desperately searching for sympathy, but found only disappointment staring back at him from every corner of the lobby. Naomi took one final step backward, creating distance between herself and the man who had spent the evening trying to shrink her existence down to a hoodie. "You mistook calm for weakness," she said quietly. "That was your last mistake." The red access light blinking on Derek Whitmore's badge seemed to hypnotize the entire lobby. A tiny color change. A tiny electronic sound. Yet somehow everyone understood they had just witnessed a man lose everything he thought protected him. The marble floors still gleamed beneath the chandeliers. The scent of espresso still drifted softly from the cafe. But the Halcyon Grand no longer felt untouchable. It felt exposed. Derek slowly unclipped the badge from his jacket, as if removing it might somehow reverse reality. "Naomi," he said quietly now, abandoning titles and formality completely, "please. I made a mistake." Naomi Brooks stood across from him with the same calm expression she carried from the beginning. No triumph. No cruelty. Just certainty. "No," she answered softly. "You revealed a pattern." The words settled heavily over the watching crowd. Olivia Bennett closed the tablet case gently as the board members disconnected one by one from the conference call. Their work was done. The system Naomi built had spoken clearly. Melissa Grant from Human Resources remained briefly on-screen long enough to finalize protocol. "Mr. Whitmore," she said professionally, "security access has been revoked across all Halcyon properties effective immediately. Your office credentials are disabled. Corporate representatives will contact you regarding retrieval of personal belongings." Derek stared downward without responding. Ryan shifted awkwardly nearby. 10 minutes earlier, he had been prepared to escort Naomi into the rain because a manager told him she did not belong. Now that same manager looked like a stranger inside his own lobby. Emily slowly stepped out from behind the front desk for the first time all night. Naomi noticed immediately. The young concierge looked nervous but determined. "Ms. Brooks," Emily said carefully. "I should have spoken up sooner." Naomi studied her face quietly. Emily looked ashamed, not because she participated in the humiliation, because fear almost convinced her to stay silent while it happened. Naomi understood that feeling too well. "But you did speak up," Naomi replied gently. Emily swallowed hard. Eventually, Naomi gave a small nod. Courage usually arrives late. The important thing is that it arrives at all. Emily's eyes filled instantly. Ryan looked away respectfully. Several guests exchanged glances after hearing it. Another layer of tension dissolved. From the room, the wealthy couple near the elevators approached slowly, now looking deeply uncomfortable. The husband cleared his throat awkwardly. "Ms. Brooks," he began, "we want to apologize if our reaction earlier contributed to this situation." Naomi turned toward them calmly. "You laughed because you trusted his assumptions more than my humanity." Neither of them answered. Because again there was nothing to say. Naomi looked around the lobby one more time. Guests still holding phones. Employees standing straighter now. The pianist watching silently from across the room. Rain washing the city outside in silver streaks beneath the streetlights. She had walked into this building tonight hoping to test customer experience anonymously. Instead, she uncovered something far older and uglier hiding beneath polished service smiles. Derek finally looked up again. "What happens now?" he asked weakly. Naomi's eyes settled on him one final time. "Now," she repeated softly. "Now you live with the understanding that the people you dismissed as unimportant were carrying entire worlds you never bothered to imagine." Derek lowered his head again. Nobody defended him anymore. Not even himself. Olivia stepped beside Naomi. "Your penthouse suite is ready whenever you are," she said quietly. Naomi nodded once, but did not move yet. She looked back toward Emily. "Tomorrow morning," Naomi said, "I want a full review of guest treatment complaints across every halcyon property in the country." Olivia immediately understood. "Yes, ma'am." Naomi continued. "Not for public relations. Not for damage control. For change." Ryan straightened slightly hearing that. Emily nodded quickly through tears. The crowd had gone completely silent again, listening to her. Naomi reached up slowly and adjusted the hood resting against the back of her neck. Same hoodie. Same black woman. Different ending. When she finally turned toward the elevators, the guests instinctively stepped aside without being asked. Not because she was wealthy. Not because she owned the hotel chain. Because dignity had entered the room and everyone suddenly recognized what it looked like. Then something unexpected happened. Soft applause. One person at first, then another, then several more. It spread carefully across the lobby until the sound filled the marble space with something warmer than victory. Respect. Naomi paused briefly near the elevator doors, but never turned around. "Luxury means nothing," she said quietly into the silence behind her, "if people have to earn basic human dignity before they receive it." The elevator doors opened slowly in front of her, like the building itself was finally acknowledging who had been standing there all along. The elevator doors closed softly behind Naomi Brooks, and for the first time all night the lobby exhaled. The applause faded into scattered whispers while guests slowly lowered their phones, as if nobody fully trusted themselves to break the silence too quickly. Derek Whitmore still stood near the marble counter holding the useless red access badge in his hand, like the remains of a life he no longer recognized. Rain continued falling outside the halcyon grand in silver sheets beneath the Seattle streetlights, while inside the building something deeper than a manager's career had collapsed. Illusion. The illusion that wealth always looks white. The illusion that dignity belongs only to people dressed the right way. The illusion that power announces itself before entering a room. Emily remained standing near the front desk, staring at the elevator Naomi disappeared into moments earlier. Her heart still raced from everything she had witnessed. "I cannot believe that just happened," she whispered. Ryan leaned quietly against a pillar nearby. "Yeah," he replied softly. "But honestly, I think she knew exactly what was going to happen the second she walked in." Emily thought about that. The hoodie, the calmness, the silence. Naomi had not arrived hoping to be respected. She arrived prepared not to be. That realization hurt more than anything else. Olivia Bennett stayed behind, briefly speaking with hotel staff, while corporate emails flooded inboxes throughout the building. Mandatory anti-bias retraining. Emergency leadership review. Nationwide audit procedures. Nobody inside Halcyon Hospitality would sleep comfortably tonight. Derek finally looked toward Olivia with hollow eyes. Did she come here to destroy me? He asked quietly. Olivia studied him for a long moment before answering. No, she said. She came here hoping people would prove her wrong. That answer hit harder than termination ever could. Derek sat slowly on the edge of a leather lobby chair, suddenly looking older than he had an hour ago. The same guest who once followed his lead now avoided eye contact entirely while passing him. Nobody wanted proximity to the ugliness once it became visible. Across the lobby, the pianist quietly resumed playing soft jazz notes that drifted gently through the air like the hotel itself was trying to recover its composure. But some things do not reset after exposure. Some truths linger in walls long after conversations end. Upstairs inside the penthouse suite, Naomi stood alone beside the giant windows overlooking downtown Seattle. The city lights blurred through rain, while her reflection stared back at her in the dark glass. Hoodie, jeans, tired eyes. She remembered being 16 years old standing outside that department store in Charlotte, while security watched her like she carried trouble instead of textbooks. She remembered learning early that America often demanded proof of worthiness from Black people before offering basic respect. Degrees, money, titles, perfection. Even then, sometimes it still was not enough. Naomi rested one hand against the cold window. 27 years later, she owned hotels worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and somehow a hoodie still made strangers question whether she belonged indoors. A soft knock interrupted the silence. Olivia entered carefully holding a folder beneath her arm. Corporate media teams are asking if you want a statement released tonight, she said. Naomi shook her head immediately. No, Olivia looked surprised. The videos are already spreading online. Naomi nodded slowly. Good. She turned back toward the rain outside. People need to see what prejudice actually looks like when it feels comfortable. Olivia stood quietly for a moment before speaking again. Emily asked if she is going to lose her job. Naomi almost smiled faintly. No. She found her voice before the end. Olivia nodded, once understanding exactly what Naomi meant. Downstairs, guests continued discussing the incident in hushed conversations, while employees moved differently now. Slower, more aware. Like the building itself had become a mirror nobody could avoid looking into anymore. Naomi finally turned away from the window and pulled the hood gently off her head. Tomorrow, she said quietly, we start changing the culture inside every property we own. Olivia gave a small nod. Yes, ma'am. Naomi walked toward the center of the penthouse suite while the Seattle skyline glowed behind her like scattered gold beneath the storm clouds. She had not raised her voice tonight. She had not threatened anyone. She had not demanded respect. She simply stood still long enough for prejudice to expose itself in public. And maybe that was the most powerful thing of all. Because in the end, Derek Whitmore did not lose his career because a Black woman wore a hoodie. He lost it because he revealed what he believed about the people wearing them. Naomi paused briefly before disappearing deeper into the suite and spoke one final sentence into the quiet room. I did not walk in wearing weakness, she said softly. They just mistook dignity for something small. A luxury hotel manager humiliates a Black female CEO after judging her hoodie and assuming she does not belong inside a five-star property. But everything changes when the quiet guest reveals she owns the entire hotel chain and the executive system begins exposing years of hidden discrimination. This emotional social justice drama delivers the powerful tension fans of Black CEO stories love, combining cinematic storytelling, viral dialogue, public humiliation, corporate consequences, and a satisfying reversal of power inside one unforgettable Seattle hotel lobby. As the hotel manager grows more aggressive, witnesses begin recording the confrontation, while employees slowly realize the woman they mocked is the billionaire founder behind the very company paying their salaries. Filled with emotional moments, luxury atmosphere, racial bias themes, and powerful leadership energy, this story stands out among the most compelling Black CEO stories online today. Viewers who enjoy Black CEO stories with strong female leads, hidden identity reveals, corporate justice, and emotional payoff will connect deeply with this unforgettable confrontation between a calm executive and a manager blinded by prejudice. From the first insult to the final moment of accountability, This is one of those Black CEO stories that explores dignity, bias, silence, respect, and the cost of judging people by appearance alone. If you enjoy intense cinematic narration, realistic emotional tension, and inspirational Black CEO stories where quiet power defeats loud prejudice, this story delivers a powerful ending that stays with viewers long after the final scene. Character 1. 42-year-old Black female CEO with deep brown skin, calm, confident expression, wearing a faded charcoal hoodie, black jeans, and clean white sneakers. Front-facing portrait, realistic luxury hotel lighting, natural human features, cinematic realism, no jewelry, no cartoon, no CGI, no illustration. Character 2. 51-year-old white male hotel manager with sharp jawline, slicked back gray hair, cold, judgmental expression, wearing expensive navy business suit, silver tie, luxury wristwatch, front-facing portrait, upscale hotel lobby atmosphere, realistic human features, cinematic realism, no cartoon, no CGI, no illustration. Luxury hotel lobby at night in downtown Seattle with giant crystal chandeliers glowing above polished marble floors. Dramatic cinematic confrontation between a calm Black female CEO wearing a faded charcoal hoodie, black jeans, and white sneakers, and a tense white hotel manager in a tailored navy business suit with silver tie, both standing face-to-face in emotional conflict while shocked hotel guests hold smartphones and watch silently. Heavy rain visible through massive glass windows behind them, luxury reception desk illuminated by warm golden lighting. The Black woman calm and powerful with controlled expression while the hotel manager points toward the exit with arrogance and frustration. Cinematic realism, emotional tension, upscale hotel atmosphere, realistic human anatomy, realistic facial expressions, natural luxury lighting, intense eye contact, dynamic composition, no fantasy elements, no violence, realistic cinematic photography style, highly detailed textures, emotional storytelling through posture and facial expression, no cartoon, no CGI, no illustration, no animated style, no distorted anatomy, premium Hollywood drama atmosphere. 1, 2. Rainy Seattle early morning city street scene with reflective pavement and soft urban lighting. The Black female CEO. Walking alone through downtown wearing a faded charcoal hoodie underneath a long dark coat. Holding a coffee cup while crossing a quiet intersection surrounded by glowing traffic lights and blurred luxury storefront reflections. Calm, thoughtful facial expression with hidden emotional depth, natural makeup-free appearance, realistic skin texture, and deep brown skin tone illuminated softly by rainy city light. Cinematic realism focused on quiet strength and dignity in everyday life, subtle luxury. Atmosphere without flashy accessories, realistic human proportions and detailed facial features, emotionally grounded visual storytelling, dramatic overcast weather, shallow depth of field, authentic American city environment, soft steam rising from coffee cup, realistic fabric textures moving slightly in rainy wind, no fantasy, no exaggerated poses, premium cinematic photography style, no cartoon, no CGI, no illustration, no anime, no artificial stylization, grounded emotional. Realism. 1. Inside a luxury 5-star hotel lobby during daytime with polished marble reception counters, expensive golden lighting, designer luggage near velvet lounge chairs, the white hotel manager standing confidently behind the front desk adjusting a silver tie while greeting wealthy guests with artificial charm, slicked back gray hair and judgmental expression hidden beneath a professional smile. Luxury hospitality environment with subtle emotional coldness beneath elegance, realistic. Human anatomy and facial structure, cinematic realism showing class arrogance and social power dynamics. Expensive watches and upscale decor surrounding the manager while staff members move quietly in the background, detailed reflections on marble surfaces, realistic lighting and textures, emotionally layered atmosphere where professionalism masks prejudice, premium American hotel setting, realistic business suit fabrics and posture, natural facial detail and realistic age lines, high-end cinematic photography style, no fantasy elements, no violence, no exaggerated expressions, no cartoon, no CGI, no illustration, no animated style, realistic luxury drama aesthetic. 2. Large luxury hotel lobby during a dramatic confrontation with crystal chandeliers overhead and rain pouring outside giant floor-to-ceiling glass windows. The black female CEO in a faded charcoal hoodie standing beside her elegant executive assistant while facing the white hotel manager near the marble front desk. A nervous young concierge employee and hesitant security guard nearby as wealthy hotel guests record the moment with smartphones, emotional silence filling the room, realistic cinematic tension, captured through facial expressions and body language. Upscale Seattle hotel atmosphere with warm golden lighting reflecting across polished marble floors, realistic human anatomy and detailed skin textures. The CEO calm and composed while the hotel manager appears defensive and pressured. Luxury decor contrasting with emotional conflict, layered crowd reactions visible throughout the lobby. Authentic cinematic realism inspired by Hollywood's social justice drama, dramatic eye contact and emotional storytelling through posture, no fantasy, no action violence, realistic photography style, no cartoon, no CGI, no illustration, no artificial animation style, premium cinematic composition. 1. 2 massive luxury penthouse suite overlooking rainy Seattle at night, with glowing city skyline outside floor-to-ceiling windows. The black female CEO standing alone in her faded charcoal hoodie with deep emotional reflection in her eyes while soft golden interior lighting illuminates modern designer furniture and elegant architecture, cinematic atmosphere focused on resilience and quiet emotional strength, realistic human anatomy and highly detailed facial features, deep brown skin softly reflecting warm penthouse lighting. Subtle rain streaks visible on the glass behind her, while blurred city lights create emotional depth, realistic hoodie textures, and relaxed posture, showing exhaustion mixed with dignity. Premium luxury environment contrasted against emotional loneliness, cinematic realism inspired by dramatic American films, emotionally grounded storytelling through body language and expression. No fantasy elements, no exaggerated glamour, realistic lighting and textures. Throughout the suite, soft reflections and moody nighttime ambience. No cartoon, no CGI, no illustration, no anime style. Realistic cinematic photography aesthetic. 1. Final emotional resolution inside a luxury hotel lobby at night, with soft applause spreading among guests beneath glowing crystal chandeliers. The former white hotel manager standing defeated holding a deactivated red access badge, while the black female CEO calmly walks toward open elevator doors with dignity and quiet authority, rain visible through towering glass walls outside the Seattle hotel, emotional atmosphere of accountability and transformation filling the marble lobby, realistic facial expressions showing regret, relief, and admiration among surrounding guests and employees, cinematic realism with warm luxury lighting reflecting across polished floors, realistic human anatomy, and detailed facial features. The CEO still wearing her faded charcoal hoodie while carrying herself with powerful, calm confidence, emotionally layered crowd reactions surrounding the scene. Upscale American luxury hotel environment with elegant decor and cinematic framing. Premium Hollywood drama visual style. Realistic posture and movement. No fantasy elements. No violence. No exaggerated effects. No cartoon, no CGI, no illustration. Realistic cinematic photography with emotional storytelling focus. 1. 2.